So yeah, it was like, I have a show. What are you talking about? It's not broken. What? No. So, yes, my passion for acting definitely got tested that year. I still did that show. Okay. I did it with a boot on, all right, with crutches. I was climbing scaffolding, using all my upper body strength and one of my legs, and then, you know, the first part of the second half is when the 525,600 minutes that song comes in. Everybody's standing in a straight line.
Gaining weight to like being around whatever type of character you playing, you got to be around that environment. Like it's a whole lifestyle change for a certain amount of months, so you can be that instead of just doing your research and be like, okay,
that's part of the research.
Yeah, and that's part of the research.
That is part of the research. But what I'm saying is like passive research, like reading and looking it up instead of just like not only doing that, but being in the environment so that you can know, like, okay,
embodying it.
This is how it is. I think y'all pretty much kind of answered my next question. It was getting good, so that's why I didn't stop y'all. But it was what did you learn the most out of college? And I think Alyse touched a lot on what she learned. But I think the part that y'all didn't answer was what would you recommend to others going into the arts? Like, I know Kadijah pointed out researching the school, and that's a really big thing. Like if you decide to go to university, and I don't know who's going to run into this video, but for the youngest, the spring chickens, don't go to a school that you can't see a high chance of getting into the career that you want to go into. Because had I known that, like, I really wanted to, like, at least pursue dance to a certain extent, I would have definitely tried out for University of Arts or Howard, or maybe even Juilliard. Juilliard is super competitive to get into. But like I would have tried out for schools that focused on that. By the time I figured out I wanted to dance, I was just ready to get out of school. So I was not trying to stay for another 3-4 years. Jesus, I would have just been graduating now. So no. But I do regret that. I can say safely that I regret not choosing a school specifically for dance. But in the end, it worked out because I met some really great people from Wayne. But like as far as department wise, absolutely not. That department is trash, and I will say it. And you can add me if you want to, DM me if you want to. But that is something that like we have discussed. The department in itself, people, alum, and current students have talked about as far as like transforming the department, because it's a lot of talented people in the city, and they should not be getting trash education for that. Like y'all should have seen how many talented my senior year, talented kids from like Cass, from Rennie, from Marygrove, because Marygrove ended up shutting down, that came to Wayne, could dance their butt off when they got there. I was like, imagine if y'all really cultivate these kids, by the time they graduate, they're gonna be fire. But do they do the cultivation? No. So like, yeah. So what are the things that y'all would recommend to the youngins who are going into the arts? Would you recommend going to a university? Would you recommend just taking classes?
I would say, because there's a lot of pressure that gets put on artists to attend conservatories. And I feel like unless you are 100% sure that that is what you want to do, unless you are 100% sure that that is what you want to do, don't do it. Because the people who started my conservatory with me are not the same people who graduated with me. And a lot of the people that left the program left because they realized acting was more of a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
a lifestyle for them. They got to the school and, made friends in other departments and realized, oh, I actually have a passion for this as well. Or, oh, I don't just want to act, I also want to direct. Because one of the things about Purchase is there is the BFA program, which means that by the end of it, you get a Bachelor of Fine Arts. It's a more concentrated program. And then there's the BA program, which is more general. It's a Bachelor of Arts program, which opens up your classes to playwriting, directing, screenwriting. You get things with prop making and design, costumes, and all of that stuff. So if
Lighting.
you're a person who's like, oh, I like acting or I like the theater, but I don't know if I want to like commit 90% of my time to acting, because that's what a conservatory is.
95, sis.
Okay, and not even a 9 to 5. Most of the time, it's an 8 to 10. Okay,
That's commitment.
95%, 95%. Because
yes, 95%, and it is. You have no life outside of the conservatory when you're in it. The people in your conservatory classes are the people that you see all day, every day, all the fucking time. Excuse my language. But it gets to the point where if you don't know who you are outside of that, you will lose yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why you should not jump into it unless you are absolutely sure it's something you want to do.
Where's the Kadijah, Raquel? Next person.
Yeah, I just agree. I agree. I don't really have anything else to say except for, like, of course, as much as you can research the programs, because even this is tea. When you are even researching the programs and go back to callback weekends and all this stuff, that is just the facade that they put on for the program.
That part.
So it's really more so to me about an environment you can see yourself living in for 4 years. Like in an environment, state-wise, all that stuff, you can see yourself living in for 4 years. You having self-motivation, again, knowing that you want to do it. You having self-motivation that, okay, this matters to me. Because Siobhan, in all honesty, I was about to leave sophomore year, honey. I promise you, it was one of the hardest years of my life for many reasons. For many reasons that I was going through, what I was going through the program. It's like, oh, that's a different type of self-motivation. When you ready to give it, I was crying. I don't cry for real. I was crying to my mom every other week. Like, I don't get why this happening. I don't understand. It was like life things I was going through too. Things that I personally don't believe that these conservatory programs are made for Black people. So don't go. That's one thing. From one colored woman, black woman, to another Black woman, to another Black male, whatever you identify as, do not go into these programs thinking you're going to be able to change and uproot in your 4 years. In your 4 years. Not saying that it can't change, not saying that you won't see subtle changes, but you have to be confident and strong and know who you are in that moment, because they will try to change you. They literally will try to change you. And I feel like the reason why I personally had such a difficult time is because I was constantly telling them, no, this is who I am. You're gonna cater to me. Yeah, I'm gonna take what you're giving me, but because I can do what you can do, period.
Because you got it from us in the first place.
It's like, I talk differently. My voice is different. My body is different. You know what I'm saying? I got curves on the stage, sis. Whether they're skinny or big, you know what I'm saying? Different. Who you are, what you portray, my life experiences. That's gonna show on the stage.
Your so life for me, I have to that part,
bruh. Like,
you ain't grow up. I ain't grow up like the rest of y'all, so I could bring something different to the table.
Privileged, okay? You have so many blessings you're not even aware of, right? And you have to be able to, on most days, put that aside so that you can be vulnerable on stage, and that shows on stage. But you have to be confident in who you are as a Black person. So for all my people of color going into these conservatory programs, you have to know that. You have to know that it's going to be difficult because they're going to try and change you. They're not going to be able to shake you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to get through these programs that way. So that's one thing. You got to be confident in yourself. And I will say, yeah, you really, it has to be something, even when you're in it, that you know, okay, when I come out of this, I'm going to gain something from this. That'll keep you going. So you kind of, again, you have to know that it's worth it to you. I won't even say fully all the time. I felt like, oh, I want to be an actor 100% of the time, but I got what was like, it was worth it to me. What I was gaining from this was worth it to me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's something that you have to, like you said, just already know.
That's good.
And I'm going to add one little piece to that for anybody who, you know, watches this and is researching schools. Look at the alum that come out of it and see how you may be connected to them. Because having a community or a tribe, or just having just one person that has been through the program that you can talk to while you're in it and going through it helps so much.
That's real. That's real. All right, let's get into the next part. The juicy, the meat of the entree. How do y'all feel about social media affecting acting? Good, bad, indifferent? I'm gonna put in my 2 cents because it's really about y'all. But I feel like, I mean, I'm not an actor. I don't claim it because that's a really big title. You can't just loosely, like, I don't feel comfortable with people loosely saying that they a dancer because, like, and I'm not saying everybody should be trained technically in ballet. I'm not saying that, but like, you have really dope hip hop, never been trained. Like KK Harris, never been trained. Like, she was self-taught, dope dancer. I'm saying people who just kind of like dance and then call themselves a dancer. They just do it for fun. No, like you need to know. Did you research? Did you like? You don't even have to go to school, but did you really put in your time? And like to do the work and to do the research and to like see different people and to study, blah blah blah. I feel like the term actor is loosely, it's just thrown around. Like, I'm an actor now, and I did one play, y'all. Actually, 2. One when I was younger, one when I was like in 2017, and I was stressed. Okay, stressed. I had one little monologue that was like this thick, and I was like, they be learning pages of this. And they gotta act like they not acting. And I just used to be sitting up there like memorizing. If they got college earlier from like, y'all, I started as a science major, different story. But like a lot of science, you have to just memorization. So that helped me for that. But I was still stressed. I'm stressed. I had a lot of fun. Don't get it twisted. Like, that's why I was like, I get why people, I get why my friends like this, especially if you have a good cast. But like, I was stressed. And I was like, I do not want to make this like seem like it's just so easy, because it's not. Like, I give y'all props. So now that social media came into play and you got people who got clout and now they getting parts and shows.
Ooh, child.
How do y'all feel about that? Do y'all think that, like, first off, do y'all think everybody should go to like school to act? Is there a specific way of learning the craft of acting? Because, you know, you have conservatories, like in dance, you have dancers, but a lot of dancers don't go to school. So I'm just trying to kind of correlate the two to see how I can kind of relate to y'all. But yeah, how do y'all feel about social media being heavily influenced in the acting community, in the acting world?
Can I go?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I will say that it has been, this question is complex for me because I think there are benefits to social media, but then I feel like there are people like us, Kadijah, who know what it means to work for something, right? Not saying that social media people are not working for what they have right now, right? I'm not saying that.
Coco.
There are different, right? There are different forms of there's no one way in success or getting into the industry or anything like that, right? But I feel like the difference in a TikTok viral song and a Jasmine Sullivan song is just that. She puts in the work. She takes the time to bake her cake. Like, this ain't no microwave cake you about to get from me or Kadijah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not.
Ain't no easy bake oven.
I think that it's the same way with social media. Like, sometimes I do feel like, dang, like, I'm funny. You know what I'm saying? I could probably do this, right? I think I'm hilarious. Like, I really do. I'm like, this is another outlet. You know what I'm saying? Dang, why didn't I think of this? But then when I go to do it, it just does not feel.
It don't feel genuine.
It don't feel the same. It doesn't feel as authentic as when I receive a script and the words are like, ooh, this touch, this hit, this hits, right? This hits. Or when I'm on a stage and I'm one-on-one with the audience right now, like that hits, you know what I'm saying? It's not the same for me. And so I feel like that's another level skill, like not everybody possesses, right? You know what I'm saying? And that comes from putting in the work and knowing that I'm going to take the road that may be a little less traveled or that's hard, quote unquote, harder way or route, you know what I'm saying, in order to get the result that I truly want. Because for me, acting is more than just fame and success. It's about what I'm saying and if I'm touching somebody when I'm doing my work. Because if I'm not really touching you for real, if you just gonna click past it, oh, that was funny, and then later, I'm not remembering that. But we gonna remember Chadwick's performance in Ma Rainey.
Ooh, child.
Are we not? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna remember works like that. That's gonna be memorable. That's going to be embedded. That's going to provoke change. That's going to provoke thoughts, conversations. That's what I want out of my craft. And I feel like it's different for everybody. So social media, I feel like, is just one specific avenue. And I'm learning that, because at first, you know, when you've been putting in work for something, you kind of be like, ooh, they got this part? Really? But at the same time, you also don't know people's full story because of only what's presented on social media. So I had to come to a place for myself of like, dang, you know, because I don't put everything I'm doing on social media whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, like maybe I could and still have the opportunity to tap into that sector. But I feel like it's a personal choice at this point. And I can't, who am I to judge or fully like criticize somebody for what they are producing? Now, I will say it do make me feel a ways when I see the work that they got casted in and watch it, and it's not the performance that I know that me or my friends who have put in the work could do. That sucks. It sucks to know, especially, I don't know, Kadijah, if you've had the same experience, but to audition for shows, you don't get it. You like it. Let's say it's a part that it has really resonated with you when you do the audition. Like we all had those auditions of like, oh, this hit for me. Oh, I hope. Because it's like, I was taught that with auditions, you got to kind of just do the work and let it go and put it in God's hands. Because if you ponder on it, that to me, that's what's detrimental or could be harmful to an actor. Is when we're constantly like, ooh, thinking. Because I feel like, yes, we can manifest. Yes, we can pray. Yes, we can have faith for something. But, you know, sometimes, most times, a good 90% of the time, you're not going to get that role. Unfortunately, no matter how good you felt, no matter how good your audition was, it comes down to looks. It comes down to skin color. It comes down to hair. Like, it comes down to a lot of factors that has absolutely nothing to do with us or that we can control. But I will say, like, you watch those shows, they come out and you see who they casted. I've had some instances, Ronnie, in which I auditioned for the show. I knew I was good. I was like, oh, this is me, right? This is me. Then get cast back, come out. The girl looked just like me. Or let's take it a step further. You're watching it and it's like, oh, I did that in my audition. What was the difference? Mm-hmm. Are you using my audition to train this actor? Because they see your resume, Ronnie. They know you went to school. They know you're trained. They're watching you. These casting directors are watching us. They're looking at us. They're observing us. That does hit a little different. But again, coming to a place of like, okay, well, what are you really doing this for? Mm-hmm. What are you really doing this for? Is it for the love of acting or is it to be seen? Are you trying to be seen? Ooh. And I realized, like, no, it's like, I'm not always trying to be seen. I want the story. I want this character to be seen. I want this story to come across. And it's like, at the end of the day, that's what I find solace in. Yeah. Because it's like, if I continue to focus on this fast-paced world of social media, I'm going to be continuing to produce and put out half-baked cakes. You're going to lose. People going to get sick of that. Ooh. I'm sick of it. I'm choosing the role of longevity because I'm always going to be an artist. It's never going to leave me. Mm-hmm. It's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if I continue to produce the work, one day, somebody is going to see it and be like, oh, that's here. This is yours. Mm-hmm. And when that moment happens, it'll all be worth it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, what I was alluding to beforehand, it's like, okay, what are you doing to fulfill yourself during that time? Mm-hmm. Because it is all about acting, but it's like, ooh, okay, I got voiceover work. That's part of acting. That's gonna produce a check. Oh, I'm a singer. Let me sing this jingle. Bet that's gonna produce a check. It's like, what are your other gifts that you can tap into so that you're not miserable in the process? You have happiness is not gonna be when you reach that pinnacle of success of whatever that is to you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us for actors, it's like, oh, when I get my hit TV show, when I get my movie, all of that, because that's gonna feel nice. Period. Thank you, God, in advance, okay? But it's like it takes some time. Mm-hmm. It takes living life. It takes building yourself up in those moments where it's like, oh, do I really want this? I'm sick of rejection.
Though, I think that y'all have to sometimes. So the reason why it takes so long, specifically with acting, is because y'all might have to go through some things that prepare you for certain roles. Say
it again.
So if we talk about a real actor, we just not talking about, because a lot of people just do it because it's popping. Like they want to be seen, like you said, Alyse. And anybody can memorize scripts. Anybody can do that. Anybody can be a little funny, But like if we talk about longevity, we talking about the OGs. They done been through some stuff. Mm-hmm. And so whereas it gets to a point where like they can really connect with the character and be that and be mature enough, because you have to have a certain level of maturity to be an actor too. Like it's not all about you. You have to be uncomfortable a lot of the times just to make that story believable, because what you're doing is you're inviting people into a world. Let them live in this world for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then after that, like Alyse said, what are we talking about after this? And it don't always have to be deep all the time, but are we talking about something? Or was it just like, oh, ha, and we going on to the next movie? So, yeah, Kadijah, you, ma'am.
Well, child, listen.
I need some more cocoa. Dang it.
I'm going to just start by saying, first of all, you miss nothing that is meant for you.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. And that's been one of my biggest lessons as an actor, especially in being in those positions where, like Alyse said, we audition for things and we feel connected to it and we feel like that might be our moment, and then we don't get it. And then the person who does get it looks just like me. Or or looks just like me except her hair is slightly different. You know, just little stuff where you just be like,
because in the day of wigs, I'm just saying.
or in my case, sometimes it's they didn't cast me, but they cast this light-skinned girl who can't act, and I feel like they only cast her because she light-skinned. And it's stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, yes, it does come down to how this person looks amongst the rest of the cast. Because if you're auditioning for the very last role that they haven't filled yet, it doesn't matter how good you are. Do you look like you belong in this story? The second thing I want to say is everybody operates from a different definition of what it is to be an actor. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes from. Personally, and for a lot of other actors that I know, acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. The key word in that is truthfully. If I don't believe it, nobody in the audience is going to believe it. Okay, you mentioned going to being transported into a different world. If I can't transport you the minute that I open my mouth, even before that, the minute that I breathe, the minute that I step into scene, from the second that you see me, you need to be transported somewhere else because I'm already there. It's not something that happens in the moment of, it's I'm in this place and I'm inviting you into it. And I think a lot of people who call themselves actors don't know what that is. I personally get slightly offended by those people who call themselves actors who are actually just artists. I would feel better if you just went around saying that you're an artist and that you dabble in different forms of art, acting being one of them, as opposed to you walking around calling yourself an actor. It also there's a big difference between those who have trained in theater specifically, and those who have only had experience with TV and film. Because it is a lot easier for a theater actor to translate to TV and film than it is for a TV and film actor to translate to theater. Those are different.
It's too different. I know that much. I haven't like did acting that much, but I know the difference between, I've done like a little bit of TV stuff. I ain't been on TV, but I've like taken acting classes for TV, and then theater is totally different. Like ain't no cut. You could do the scene 85 times. No, ain't none of that. You on the stage, just live, sweetheart. This is live. You messed up, you just mess up, and you keep going. Like,
and that's the beauty of theater. That is the beauty of theater. The beauty of theater is that you will never have the same experience twice. That is the beauty of theater, is that you will never have the same experience twice. It doesn't matter if you're in a show for 6 months and you have 8 shows a week. Each of those shows is going to be different, just because the energy is going to be different. Every actor is going to be bringing something different every single time, as opposed to TV and film, where first of all, everything is not sequential. No. You're not building to anything.
No.
You have to take moments out of context and do them to the fullest of your ability with no preparation for it, honestly. And then you get to do it over and over and over again until you get it right.
Yeah.
There is no getting it right in theater. There's only the telling of the story.
Ooh. And that takes a different level of stamina as well. Like,
yes.
I feel like they're both beautiful art forms, don't get me wrong. But I feel like the difference is, and I feel like you kind of notice those people who have been trained in theater on film and television, because it's just rooted. Like it's just a deeper, you can feel that the meaning is slightly deeper. And I feel like that's the beauty of theater actors going into film and television, because they're able to access that much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like directors, even if they don't know you've been trained, they love working with theater actors on a film and television set, because we have that ability. We've cultivated that for ourselves. We know how to get to that. Like, I feel like Kadijah said, with little to no work, that's true, or time for work, that's true, but we know how to get to that place much quicker than a person who just hopped into this.
Yeah.
That's something that can't be taught for real.
Yeah.
Or
and
it takes, or I will say it takes time for you to get to that level of being able to drop in that quickly. Dropping in is something, honey, because it's felt. It's true. It's the process of being, because it's like, oh, especially if you have semi gone through it, I feel like sometimes you do have to be careful with that, because I'm a big advocate with actors and mental health, right? So I feel like as much as you can take on with that, you know what I mean? Like, it's called method acting for a reason. It's when you recall a memory, or you like fully indulge. I think Leo DiCaprio might be a method actor, but he fully, like, right before he goes into filming, he fully indulges and embraces what that character would go through and all that stuff. I feel like sometimes that is very harmful for actors. So you have to take that, and morph it into what you can handle. But I will say it's just a different level of stamina. It's a different level, really, to me, of acting, because it's like it's deeper, it's rooted, and you can just tell, and you can feel, and you can see the difference in front of a camera and even on stage.
Yeah, and it you mentioned earlier that there has to be I don't remember exactly what words you used, but there needs to be a sense of self and of confidence whenever you're acting. I also personally feel like there has to be somewhat of a wholeness to you before attempting any kind of acting job or gig or whatever, because if you're not whole within yourself, that part is going to rip you to pieces.
And
Look at
show.
Heath Ledger. May God rest his soul. But yes, that man did incredible work, but he also lost himself in the work because he was not whole within himself before attempting that work. And getting back to, actually answering the question, social media, I feel like, does a good job of giving exposure to those who we otherwise wouldn't know about, especially the ones with the skills and who respect the craft itself. But I also think it does kind of like give handouts to those who just have high followings. And that's also where I get a little angry with the industry itself, because in that aspect, you're more concerned about money than you are about the art itself.
Always about money.
Personality.
Yeah, and also just what this person shows on their social media page could or could not be how they are in real life. So you don't know what you're getting when they come to set. You go into it thinking one thing, and then when you hire them for something, they're bringing something totally different. Now everybody's on different pages and don't nobody know what's going on. I also feel like it is in those moments where, because they're concerned about selling tickets and making money, that they put people who don't deserve to be in certain spots in those spots.
Or you're using it.
Yeah, where you can tell, you can literally see it. You have a dynamite cast of people who have been in this business and know what they're doing, know how to adapt, know how to make a horrible script work, know how to work within certain circumstances. And then you have this Instagram famous or Twitter famous, TikTok famous, whoever, dropped in the mix doing some basic level work. And it's just like, dang, that could have went to somebody who actually does this. You could have given that person a different type of opportunity. If that's what it's about, if it's about giving this person an opportunity, you could have given them a different type of opportunity that would have granted them the same access at the end of the day, as opposed to putting them in places that they didn't deserve or work for or earn. That's my biggest thing. Did you earn it? And a lot of people who are on our screens these days do not.
Okay, so that relates me into. I'm gonna add another question, and then we gonna almost be done, y'all, because this is good. It's so good. Oh my god, I can't wait to come out. So this that leads me to: do you believe that TV is changing and writing is changing, film is changing because, like, I just don't feel like TV hits the same as it did in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely not.
2000s. Like, the writing was trash.
I feel like in the 90s and the 2000s, people were telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel like people are just going around saying, "Look what I can do."
Mm-hmm.
Creating content.
Pushing out content just for the sake of pushing it out there, just for the sake of saying I have something or I've done something, as opposed to really investing in storytelling. And
now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There are exceptions to this, because I do feel like there are certain shows out right now and in the past couple years that are phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Talking about the majority though, Alyse, like,
but the majority,
it's rare finding some good TV where you just not like,
this is just so much.
Especially Black. let's make it even more. Let's make it even more specific. Black TV. This is why everybody is getting hyped that the Parkers, Girlfriends, Moesha, all of that is on Netflix, because like the writing wasn't corny. Like, you watch Moesha, I can see we talk like that now. Like, the way that they talk, it might be some different slang because it was a different time frame, but like it felt natural. Like, now some Black TV shows, you just be like, and it's not even that many out now, but like it's a one specific Black TV show, I ain't gonna put them out there, but I'm watching it and I'm like, this is so corny. Black people don't act like this. Like,
I think that with that though, Bonnie, I think it's because of the day and time in which we live in. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we as people now are a little bit, and I feel like this is very 50-50, like either you're gonna offend or you're not gonna offend, right? And I feel like value now, because in a Me Too era, because in the era of people getting sued for discriminatory, like it's a lot more elements that we deal with now that didn't matter back then. Mm-hmm. Not fully. And I feel like sometimes that does get in the way of artistry or what we consume in television, because the writers, the producers, the director, they want it greenlit, right? They want it greenlit and they want seasons. Mm-hmm. And they can't offend right off the bat. Offend, literally, because our generation, the generation we live in right now, easily offendable. Anything that comes, half the stuff we probably said on here, somebody gonna be like, ooh, that rubbed me the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So I think that we need more acts or writers and producers and creators who are risk takers. Mm-hmm. And I think also with that, people want money, right? So we see, honestly, the content, you can go on YouTube. You can go on these little smaller platforms that are just coming out and find that content. Mm-hmm. But the more mainstream, your Netflix, your Hulu, your Fox, all of that stuff, you're not going to get that anymore. Unfortunately, indie films, just because of the climate that we're in. And that does take a toll, and that comes into play with what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if we had more Black individuals, creators, visualists, all of this stuff, who weren't afraid to go to Hollywood and be like, this is going to get greenlit and I'm not changing a thing. That's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. Especially not when you look like us.
Okay.
Us. women specifically also.
Yeah.
Because men, especially Black cis men, have a little bit more advantage in this industry as well. That we don't talk about. That's a totally different. If you want to really break it down, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, Black women are at the bottom of the barrel.
I agree.
And we get paid differently. We get cast differently. We barely got stories for us. Like,
but we make the best work.
We make the best work, but it's forcing us to be in competition with each other rather than being like, oh, girl, I'm embracing you. You're bomb. Yes. It's like, I got to compete with Kadijah. Kadijah is my competition. And we don't even look alike. But they're putting us up against each other because they don't even fully know what they want this character to be. Is she angry Black? Is she Black? And the narrative,
when Black women do get casted, it's like, come on.
We're either the sidekick, best friend, right? We're the mammy character. We are the whore or the hooker. We are ratchet, ghetto, unnecessarily.
Been battered.
Okay, somebody's baby mama. Very, very stereotypical, and like, just to touch on what Alyse was saying about needing more writers and producers who want to take risks. It's, yes, we do, but we need people who are going to take risks tastefully. Because there are
freaking part.
Because there's plenty of stuff out there where I've been watching and I've been like, ooh, I see what you were trying to do, but you went about it the complete wrong way. If you would have, first of all, had somebody Black in the room while you were coming up with this, probably would have been better. Because that's another thing I'm sick of, white people writing for Black people when they don't have any Black friends. They're not around Black people on a regular basis. They don't know how we talk.
Black friends.
And you can know when you're trying to say these things for an audition or like reading the script. I'm like, I would never say this like
I would never say that.
And to me, honestly, in my auditions, I would say I'm word perfect for the most part. But if it don't really feel right coming out of my mouth, I'm gonna say it how I would actually say it. Exactly. And 9 times out of 10, they like it. Because it's authentic. Again, going back to authenticity and knowing who you are. That's a risk. That's a risk to say the words that somebody is so proud of that they've written and be like, well, actually, I want to say it like this. So here's how we would really say it. Let me help you out. Let me give you a gift. Here you go.
And those who are in it for the art of it will respect that. And that's how you can always tell who's in it for what reasons. Because when you're working with people with integrity and who actually care about telling this story in the most authentic way, if I say to you, hey, I understand what's going on here, but saying it like this just don't flow right for me. I'm gonna say it a couple of different ways. You tell me how you feel about it. As opposed to them being like, well, no, because that's what I put on the page. And if you can't respect my writing, then maybe you shouldn't be here.
Ooh, like, girl, please.
Versus,
y'all are artists.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah, let's see what comes out of it. Let's play around.
It's all from one thing I know from working on set is everybody. We talking about a production. Everybody in there, we all working together. It all works together seamlessly. So a director, which is what I want to do, I want to direct. They have to, yes, you are directing. Yes, you are like kind of the main storyteller. Like you're trying to get the story across, but you have to understand that who you're working with are artists and they're not just robots. So you have to have that compassion. You have to have that humility to be like, let me work with this artist so that we can make some magic. We want to make it believable. You need to have that connection with your actors. Like they need to be able to trust you and vice versa. It's not just I'm telling you what to do, because mostly going to the side that I recently came from with dance, that's why we so unappreciated. We are so underappreciated as dancers because we get paid the least, and also you just telling us what to do. Ain't no cooperation. If you going on tour, they giving you choreography and you doing it, and that's it. Ain't no like, okay, well, what if we do this way? Or now I don't know, certain choreographers might be okay with that, but like, no, we gotta get this out. We entertaining the people. We trying to keep them hype. We selling a fantasy and we moving on. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation. Last question: where do you think acting is going now? Where's it gonna go? Where are we going with acting? Is it getting better?
Ooh, I feel like that's a good question, specifically with what we've been dealing with this past year, right? Because I feel like it's evolving. I think now is a beautiful time. I've been paying very close attention. This actually is a good question because I've actually been pondering on this, right? Specifically this last year, where you go from auditions every other week, every week sometimes, to nothing. You be happy to get one once a month, like once in a month. Like honestly, like, ooh. And I know I keep going into like tapping into your other gifts, but that's what really got me through this last year of just tapping into my other gifts. Again, this is still my main focus. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, oh, even the way that I'm approaching the art form is different. What it means to me is different. And I think that we have to we as actors have to pay attention to what these higher ups, people in the industry who have made it, are saying. I've noticed that a lot of actors who've made it are miserable and are saying it even during this pandemic, like, I want out. I want to create my own. I want to start this. I want this. So actors who are still striving to get to that level, because I do think that is to a degree a privilege to be able to say that because you've experienced, correct? We all want a taste of it. That's why we're doing it to a degree, right? We all want a taste. But I think we would be remiss if we didn't pay attention, because it's like, I feel like now is the time to develop and create new systems, new production companies, new produce these works, right? Because it's like, I think of going into 2020, I think some of us had the wrong idea about 2020. I think that we expected too much out of 2020. When we enter a new decade, we're entering a new decade, not a new year. We're entering a new decade. So the fact that all of this stuff happened, we're seeing the industry life for what it really is.
Oh, they've been trying to tell us. They really came out this year. This past.
Like, I feel like whenever something new is happening, sometimes it takes a bit of uprootingness and getting rid of and seeing things for what it really is, for something beautiful and new to be created. So the fact, I feel like these next, honestly, 3 years to come, by 2023, I feel like we'll begin to maybe feel a little bit more like, ooh, a little bit more stability. But I think right now we need to pay attention and create what's important to us right now. You know what I'm saying? And take the opportunities that we're given and utilize them. And literally create new systems, create from a different place, a different sense of meaning. And if we're still, I feel like if you're still, like, your full intent right now is still Hollywood mainstream, I feel like you've missed something at this point, because it's crumbling before our eyes. It is crumbling. And I feel like you have to acknowledge that, because now people are like almost refusing to bask and settle in the what was. and exposing it. And it's like, now, okay, we've exposed it. We see it. What are we going to do with that? How are we going to move forward? How are we going to change? So I think that acting right now is definitely evolving. I think that things, I mean, Netflix is a true testament, because Netflix went from you ordering DVDs to I'm about to turn my TV on right now and boom, 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 boom. Like, I think that this is
there at the beginning when Netflix, nobody knew what Netflix was. We was getting DVDs sent to our house, and my friends was like, "What's Netflix?" Now everybody got it.
I think that streaming is big, of course, like just going into like I guess more mainstream type things. But it's like also, if you really dig into Netflix, there are independent films on there. There's a little bit more. I feel like we're gonna see more of that happening. And I feel like we all kind of just need to tap into. I feel like one piece of advice that one of my mentors gave me, she's a higher up in, not in the acting industry, but in the music industry. She always reminds me to network horizontally. Like, it's cool to climb up the ladder, but your community is this way.
Yes.
Kadijah, if I got an idea and like, sis, I want you to be in this project, let's make it happen. Issa Rae, think about Issa Rae. Issa Rae's story is phenomenal. She is the epitome of what that means.
Okay.
She started out with what she had, with the people around her. Sis is popping. You know what I'm saying? But that takes time. And I feel like, again, going with longevity and being able to really go through your process, remembering your process, going through your process, and knowing that things are going to take time. So that I'm putting in work now in 2020, in 2021, in 2022, that when 2030 comes, it's not like, oh, snap, she came out of nowhere. It's going to seem that way for people who have not been paying attention and putting in the work themselves, right? Like, by 2030, I expect myself to be in a different place because I'm doing the work now. I think it takes longevity. I think that acting is evolving, and we're going to be a part of the wave because we've been putting in the work, and we know, and we've been diligent, persistent, and consistent with it. So I think, I don't know if that really answered the question, but I think that it's hard to almost answer that question fully with a definition answer.
Yeah.
Because it's evolved. It's in such a place of like, the wheels are like turning right now, that it's like, ooh, I recognize. It's more so of a thing for me. It's like, I'm recognizing this, and this. Not sure what's going to come of it, but I know I'm going to be a part of it. I know I'm listening. I know I'm watching, and I know I'm doing. So,
Kadijah?
I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I think one of the things that's been happening as a part of like people's freak out with, everything that happened in 2020, I think people are creating things that include our real life experiences before we completely finish experiencing them. And it's becoming very
it's the face for me.
It's almost like drama porn right now, where it's like everything has to be overly dramatic. We have to include COVID. We have to include a rape or a sexual assault. We have to include violence against Black bodies. We have to include, just to show that we're aware that these things are happening.
Ooh.
And it's inauthentic.
It's preaching.
It's very, it's very much a lot of these production companies are doing the Blackout Tuesday post in real life with their art. They're producing things that are supposed to be, look how aware we are, but it's not really saying anything.
It's not. And it's just because something, okay, yes, 2020 was the year of, okay, we are, for us, Black Lives Matter really, like, we experienced a whole nother civil rights movement in 2020. That's crazy. Like, you read about it in the books to a certain level. Of course, it wasn't on the same level as in the 60s, but I'm saying that, like, it kind of was like it happened in our lifetime, and we looking around like we read this in the history.
But it happened publicly.
It happened publicly
in 2020.
It happened publicly. That's
that's the other part of it. It's like y'all are creating these stories thinking that all of this stuff is new when it ain't.
It's not.
We've been living this life. We've been going through this. We've been dealing with this. But you have yet to come and ask us. You have yet to, first of all, ask permission to tell these stories. To second, come into the lives that we live and ask if you can document it in all of its authenticity. And then asking if it's okay that certain elements be added for sake of drama. I think that's why so many people were upset with Queen and Slim, which I still haven't seen.
I haven't seen it either.
For that exact reason, because everybody's like, oh yeah, it's cute until the end, because it's just unnecessary violence against Black bodies. Spoiler alert for anybody who didn't see it. But it's that kind of thing. So I think now, with the crumbling of the foundations, of these ill-built systems, I think the people involved in them are not only realizing what does not work, but they're noticing the roots of the patterns that continue to perpetuate the stuff that does not work. And we are divorcing ourselves from that. Mm-hmm. I think now we're moving into a place where all art is starting to become a community effort. And it's not just about including the people from the community to be in it, but it's about what is being given back to the community. What is the story that we want to be uplifted in our community? What is it that we want to share with our community? What is the subliminal message that we want to give to our community? Because I shouldn't have to get on Twitter to see conversations about Black love and having people arguing back and forth on social media about whether or not it exists in real life, because we don't see it in our TVs, in our films, and in our shows.
Especially now. That's what I was talking about with the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of divorced people. I'm sure it was a lot of baby mamas. I'm sure it was a lot of that. But it definitely, you saw Black love. You saw Black couples together. And if they weren't, they acted like they had some sense.
Yeah, and it's so I think, yes, it is hard to, I guess, fully answer that question, because we don't know what the acting industry is going to be right now. Everybody is still trying to figure it out. While TV and film is technically kind of back open, theater is still completely shut down.
Yes.
So... And
that says a lot to me.
Same. Honestly. Same. Honestly.
That's a different conversation for another day, but that says
a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly, theater gets some slack in the acting community, in my opinion, because it's not necessarily the biggest money maker. Mm-hmm. Film and television is, and it's like, oh, we're losing out on money, y'all. Let's open.
But I also think theater is still completely shut down because the theater industry is way more racist than the TV and film industry. And they still got a lot of stuff that they need to figure out and get together before we can continue.
It's taking them a second to get even to have certain conversations that is already kind of circulating and perpetuating in the film and television industry.
Yeah, and I think TV and film jumped on the bandwagon a lot quicker because of the exposure that comes with it, because the light is on them, because people are looking at them a lot and calling them out. People outside of the industry are calling them out for, their foolishness inside of the industry. The theater industry is a lot more, I guess you could say, like, closed door, like invite only.
It's more sheltered.
It's like the light is still off on it a bit. It's dim. Yes. In comparison to film and television, that thing been on.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
people are getting called out, like Harvey Weinstein. The only reason why his case was as big as it was because he is prominent in TV and film. Mm-hmm. Because there are plenty of Harvey Weinsteins in the theater community. That doesn't get talked about. That doesn't get blown up like that because
it's
swept under the rug, because people think theater and they think, oh, Broadway. And that's a whole nother conversation, honey, because why is half of the shows on Broadway stuff that's getting brought back from 70 years ago? But anyways, so I think right now, especially for Black artists and for Black actors, a lot of our work is being self-produced. A lot of our work is community-based and community-driven. I also think that with the spiritual awakenings that's been happening over the course of the last year, I think a lot of that is influencing the work that is created in the Black community. And I think a lot of the collective consciousness with Black actors is about bringing Black people to a certain level of awareness, of confidence, of owning our truest, most authentic selves, of owning the roots that we have and where we come from, and honoring those things. So it is hard to say what it's gonna look like, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, heck, even 6 months from now, just because of the state of the world around us. But I will say, I can confidently say, for me and for a lot of other Black artists that I know, that we are creating our own systems now.
And it's
we are setting our own standards. We are not looking for approval from anybody else, especially if they don't look like us.
Yeah.
And one thing, my hope in all of this during this transformative time is that they stop recycling artists and they allow new opportunities for others
out here. It's so many talented people out here. We tired of seeing the same faces.
Honestly, and I feel like it would be beneficial. You know what I'm saying? It's beneficial to give opportunities to other artists, because it's like, oh, snap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm personally, it's nice and refreshing to see a fresh face and like, oh yeah, they can act too. You know what I'm saying? I just think, I'm hoping that new opportunities are created to showcase all the talent that's actually out there, and to showcase more of our stories, and that we have a voice, not only with those being granted to be in these projects, but that our voices are heard behind the scenes of like, okay, this, sorry y'all, my mama laughing. Our voices are heard in the midst. Like, we have a voice in saying like, no, again, like with our auditions and stuff, being able to say, no, I wouldn't necessarily say it this way, or hey, what about this storyline for this character? I'm hoping that it's accepted more so, and that those opportunities are actually being put into place during this time.
And that things in this industry become a lot more specific as well. Because I think it's the lack of specificity that allows people to fall into old habits and behaviors when it comes to producing work and when it comes to casting people in certain things, because they don't know what they're looking for exactly, because they don't have background stories on these characters, because they don't know if this is a Black girl that grew up in the South, or grew up in Detroit, or grew up on the West Coast, or grew up in New York.
Because
those specifics
that's important.
Matter. And then you not knowing if you want a dark-skinned Black woman, a brown-skinned Black woman, a lighter-skinned Black woman, those things matter.
They do.
Or stop making, or taking, again, going back to risk taking the risk of going outside of the norm of making what we see on TV more palatable. Because who are you making it more palatable for?
Because life don't work that way. God don't be like, oh, let me make this more palatable for you. No, you're going to get this lesson.
It's literally what we're saying, not who's saying it. Like, how dare you tell me it's more palatable for a light-skinned, 3C haired Black woman to say this versus a dark-skinned, beautiful chocolate woman with 4C hair saying it? What is there really? Sometimes, yes, the message can be conveyed differently, but I feel like it's conveyed differently because they are literally like watering down what's being seen. Give other opportunity.
So good. Okay.
Stop doing that. so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm going back to Ma Rainey because let's talk about it. Viola is an amazing actor. Incredible. Amazing. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But why are you putting this lady in a fat suit?
That wasn't her role.
Go get a more heavier, dark-skinned woman. There are plenty people out there who deserve that opportunity, who deserve to be seen, who deserve to say those words. Those words are what? An amazing piece of work. But to me, it's like, why would you do that?
Yep.
Why would you do that? You're going for a name. You get what I'm saying? Viola Davis, yeah, that's going, okay, I get streams. But I feel like the message, the words aren't going nowhere. The words are the words for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just are.
Very those similarly. Very similarly, Sylvie's Love. It's a beautiful story about Black love. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, Tessa, you didn't need to play that role. Tessa, we've seen this work from you before. That could have been an opportunity for her in her legacy building to bring somebody else up to give exposure to that has the skill, that has the heart, that has the authenticity to bring truth to those words into that role. Because honestly, I'm not even gonna hold you. Watching that movie, I was way more interested in him than I was her. I was way more interested in the people around her. A lot of the things that came out of her mouth, I was over it because I've seen this before. From you specifically. I've seen this before from light-skinned women in movies over the years.
I gotta stop y'all right there. We can talk about this all freaking day, okay? And I ain't even an actor, but I just be here. I'll be here for all of it. But that is our episode with the girls. I can't wait to hear what the guys got to say. Oh my gosh, what they got to say, because they got a whole different experience. So like, I can't wait to see what they say. Thank y'all for doing this.
You're welcome.
Of course.
And we will see y'all next week. Peace.